Okay, so today we're going to talk about place value in decimals. Now, a lot of you asked, what's a decimal? What's a decimal? Okay, a decimal, the way that we're going to talk about it, is a part of 1. Okay, so to explain it in terms of your base 10 blocks here, when we've talked about this before, usually we've talked about this as 100, right? This is 100 things on here, isn't it? Okay? I need you to change your thinking just a little bit about this. We've talked about this as 100, and then we've usually talked about one of these small squares as 1. Okay? I need you to imagine that this is 1. Okay? This piece here, I need you to think of as just one thing. And it's broken up into 100 parts. Okay? So this is now one thing. And this one thing is broken up into 100 pieces. You will find something that looks just like this in your everyday math journal. On page 114, you'll see this one thing. This is not 100 ones anymore. Okay? I mean, it still kind of is, but this is one thing. So, when we talk about decimals, this says if the grid is 1, then which part of each grid is shaded? Okay? So, I'm going to do this example for you right up in front where you can see it. Okay? So I'm going to make this look like, this has, before we called these longs 10, right? They're not 10 anymore. Okay? They're actually 10 pieces, 10 parts of this one. Okay? So hopefully you're following me because this could get tricky if you weren't paying attention. Alright? So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 longs. Alright, so I'm going to fill 5 longs up right here. If I fill 5 longs up, how many pieces have I filled in of the whole? Noah?
50.
Okay, 50. Alright, so I would write 50 here. And how many pieces are in the whole altogether? How many pieces are in the whole altogether? 100. Okay? So it's going to ask for a fraction. Remember, a fraction is a part of or has parts. Okay, so the fraction is going to be 50 out of 100. Now, is there another way we could say this? If you just look at this, which part of this whole is shaded? Which part of the whole is shaded? Yep.
Half.
Half. Okay, 50 out of 100 does equal 1/2. Okay, sometimes fractions equal different things. This is the piece that you haven't done just yet, that you might want to really pay close attention to. The next thing it asks you for is a decimal. Okay, so it doesn't want you to write a fraction for the decimal part. It only wants you to write that for the fraction part. Alright? And if you wrote 50 out of 100, I would accept that answer. Okay, you don't have to write 1/2. If you know that's 1/2 and you write it, I would be happy about that too. Okay? Sometimes the teacher will tell you exactly how you have to write it. And for some things I might. But for this one, I don't mind if you write 50 out of 100 or if you write 1 out of 2. Because every 1 out of 2 is actually shaded. 1/2. Now for the decimal though. How am I going to find out what the decimal is? Well, this is how. Okay? For a decimal, I'm thinking about how many parts of the 1. Okay? For a decimal, if I think about it like money, that's the best way for you to think of a decimal. If I have if this is money, how much money is it? How much money is it? Yep. It would be $100 if each of these were still 1. But each of these is not 1 anymore, so it's only equal to
$1.
$1. Very good. Very good. So if this is equal to $1, then how much are each of these pieces equal to, if this is money? How much are each of those pieces equal to?
Each one is 1, but every other one is 1.
So if each of these is equal to a certain money amount, and this whole thing adds up to $1, and I have 100 of each of these, 100 of what makes $1?
Pennies.
Pennies. So you can think of decimals like pennies. Okay, decimals are your pennies, or your dimes, or your nickels. Okay, so think about it like this. How many pennies do I have in my picture now, if I cover it this way? How many pennies are there here? Any ideas? Yep.
10.
10. Got 10 cents here. Okay, 10 pennies. All right. Now I'm going to put my 5 longs back on. Okay. Remember, each of these longs is equal to, let's say, 10 pennies. All right. How many pennies would this be if this was money? Yep.
50.
Okay, 50. So that I'm thinking about it that way. I'm thinking about it that way. And some of you, I could tell, are also thinking about it too. You can see your eyes lighting right up with the answers. That's great. I'm going to write down 50. I'm not done yet, though. If I write down 50, that means 50 of these. That means I have 50 of these. I don't have 50 of these. I've only got 50 of these. It's kind of like saying the difference between $50 and 50 cents. Okay? Raise your hand if you would rather have 50 of these, if it's money. Okay? Yeah, most of us would rather have 50 of these. We could certainly buy more, right? But we've only got 50 of these. Okay? We don't have that much money. All right? So to show that it's not 50 of these ones, that it's only 50 pennies, we have to do something. And that's this. We have to put a decimal point there. Before the number. Remember how I told you when we first started talking about place value that there's a hidden decimal point in every number? Okay? If I have the number 50, I don't want to write it in someplace confusing. If I have the number 50, let's write it behind the book. Let's just throw everything on the floor. Okay. If I have the number 50, just here, we said the decimal point is here, right? Even though we don't write it. And I can write a bazillion zeros after that 50. Same number. 50 equals 50 with all those zeros. Okay? It changes, though, if I write any 1s or 2s or 3s after that. No matter how far out I write them. Alright? But this decimal point is so important because when this is less than 1, I have to have the decimal point before the number. This tells me that this here that I was just doing, it's not even 1. It's not even 1. It's only a little part. It's only a little part of 1. Okay? In fact, it's just half of 1. It's just half of $1. That's all I have. Okay? So, that is part 1 about decimals, and I'll take some questions.